All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get this to hit home because I see people are starting to think, and that's a good thing. And they're trying to think of, well, what if we do this? What if you don't do this? I'm going to put this as simple as I can for people to understand that it's either all or nothing. Either you choose to break away from the system and we all figure a way to start a new system. I don't know what that is. I don't have the solutions, but heck, could it be worse than what they're doing to us now by taking away our liberties, fining us for everything that we do, telling us what we can and cannot do? Like, for example, if you don't want your kids to be filled with mercury from all the poisons they try and inject in you, well, Child Protective Service is going to take away your child, and they're going to label you an unfit parent and say it's child abuse. So under their system, they have the right to take your child because it's not your child. So you can't say, well, I don't want the birth certificate. Because if you have a birth certificate, and if you have any form of government ID, and this is what I want people to say, if you have a bank account, if you've ever voted, if you have a credit card, if you have a passport, if you have a driver's license, if you have any form of government ID, you are part of the system, even if you only have one of those things. It doesn't matter if you're homeschooled. It doesn't matter if you had a birth at home. Like somebody said, they know somebody that has children that did not have the birth certificate, and they're spending their life on the run because they know that Child Protective Services would end up taking their child because technically, because you didn't dispute it, it's not your child. They own the rights to that child because it's the corporation. They have the DNA to prove it. What do you have other than hearsay? You don't have the physical evidence that they do. And that's what it comes down to. So let's put this in the simplest of terms. If you own a business and you have an employee, can that employee ever tell you what to do? And if they did, what would you do to that person? If you're the owner of John's Pastry Shop and you have an employee that says, you know what, I don't feel like working today because I've learned that working is bad for me. Well, you as the boss, what are you going to say to that person? Get out. And then they don't get the money anymore. They don't get the benefits. They don't have whatever you've offered them. So we have to understand something. This is how they get people. They dangle a carrot in front of you and give you all these wonderful free things. Because who wouldn't want to work for a company that offers you 10 times more money at this company than anywhere else? They offer you health benefits. They offer you paid vacations. They give you all these things. They dangle the carrot in front of you. They don't give you the knowledge. You get some benefits, and nothing is free. Have you ever heard of the expression, there is no free ride or there is no free lunch? You know, millions of people are getting what they call free food because they're getting the government to give you the benefit of a food stamp. Well, it's not free. They have to borrow the money from a foreign bank called the Federal Reserve, which is not part of the United States of America or the United States Corporation. Well, actually, that's not true. They're not part of the United States of America, but they are in contract with the United States Corporation. So they're borrowing the money. We pay it back through our taxes. So every time you see prices go up, every time you see the food reducing in size, every time your house mortgage payment goes up, and every time the banks raise your percentage rates, and every time some income tax goes up, you're paying for it. We have to get it to this point. I mean, guys, I am no rocket scientist. I am just an average Joe Schmo that doesn't even have a college degree, and yet I can study this stuff. You just got to do it. Because let me tell you something about law. You don't have to be a lawyer to study law, just like you don't have to be a chef to know how to cook. But we have to understand something. When you become unknowingly, because you don't get told the truth, in other words, they are creating a fraudulent contract, because there's no meeting of the minds, there's no full disclosure. But regardless of that, because you don't dispute it, you confirm it through your silence. That means whether you like to believe it or not, because your belief in this is irrelevant, you are the employee of the corporation called United States. And they are your boss. The president is your boss. Who are you to tell the president of a company that you work for what to do and how to live? So like I said, if you own your own business, Your employee can bitch and moan all he wants that he doesn't like the fact that he has to clean out the toilets, or he doesn't like the fact that he has to work Christmas Day. Well, you could tell him, well, if you don't want to work, you don't have to, but you're not going to get the pay, you're not going to get the health benefits, you're not going to get all the luxuries you get for working. Get out. Now try and pay your bills. So that's how they get you. They scare the living daylights out of you. So I understand, and I like the fact that people are thinking. So don't get me wrong about that. But make no mistake. You can't say, well, I got rid of 90% of it, so that means I'm going to be free. No, they own you. That's what you have to understand. They don't own you, the specific person, but they own the rights to you through the birth certificate because you left the DNA evidence on your birth, and it was considered abandoned at sea. And under legal terms, it doesn't matter what you believe, under legal definition, they have the rights to the corporation known as your name. And they profit off of you. You are their labor. That is why you spend your whole life working to pay back debts that they create from nothing. That's the whole mortgage fraud and the taxes that you pay. When you buy a mortgage from a bank, they are giving you nothing. Because most people say things like, oh, I want the original title. Well, you know what? If you know the legal definition of the word original title means the first copy. Like, for example, if you're making, and I got this from Kurt Kallenbach. I've listened to his stuff. I've also, by the way, I've listened to Dean Clifford, Jordan Maxwell, Max Egan, a guy, I forget his name, Mr. Thompson, old bearded guy, gives a lot of information. He's a common law lawyer. I've listened to a lot of different people. But you want what's called the genuine part of like the genuine title. Because a original is the first copy of the genuine thing. You ever heard of saying, are you the general, are you the general article, the genuine article? So this video is going to stay short. I know I'm making a couple of videos today, but I got to get this point across to you. If you are in any place around the world in their corporation, whether you're in it a little bit or a lot, you're still in it. Think of it like a light switch. The light switch has two possibilities. It's either on or it's off. Now, I know some smart aleck out there will say, well, what if you have a light dimmer? Well, if you dim the light, it's still on. It's just not as bright. So this is a black or white issue, on or off. If you are part of their system, you have to do what they tell you. Otherwise, they can fine you, they can throw you in jail, or they could spy on you, or they can murder you. Pick your choice. There's your freedom of choice. Hopefully this hits home. We'll keep doing this until we all get it. But that's why I want that information spread out. We have to allow people to know the truth so they can decide, well, I don't mind being part of the system because I'm getting all this free stuff. And even though they take away all my rights and liberties and they can do whatever they want, I'm fine with it as long as I get mine. Well, at least we have a choice then. Right now, and for decades, and for other countries around the world, it's been centuries, we haven't been given the choice. They did this sneaking behind our backs, not telling us what we were signing. Speaking of signing, you ever see right before you sign something, they always put a little X and then tell you to sign? Well, guess what? That X is actually the signature. What you're doing is actually signing as a witness. You ever see, like, for example, if you ever watched, like, Blazing Saddles, and they have the candygram for Mongo, and he says, sign here, and what does he do? He just writes an X. That's his signature. So see how easily you can get lied to? Here's another little one called the Four Corners Rule. If you have a contract and something is written inside a box, in law, it is not applicable to the contract. It's like it does not exist. You ever wonder why when you go to a bank and you make a sign-in for things, or even other documents, you're always signing in a box? If you don't know the legal definitions of it, you think, oh, well, that's just a nice fancy design that separates it from the other areas. No, when you have something in a box in a contract, it is not applicable to the contract. And these are things you'll never know thanks to our public system, which who owns the public system? Could it be the United States Corporation? You ever wonder why you don't learn anything that is of value? Think about it, people. Peace.